I'm hearing a bunch of like, so there's some division between like some Iranians. Are like, oh, they're like, when Shah gets in power, he's gonna execute Iranians who are Muslim. He's gonna be like, the ones that don't support Pahlavi or the ones who don't support the Ayatollah, the ones who are neutral, are gonna be persecuted. Oh, there's gonna be blood all over the place. Blah blah blah. There's like,
Wait,
I feel like there's some
who's
internal
saying
division.
no? There's no internal division. Having 5% of a population having a view, that doesn't make internal division. Having the vast
I mean,
majority of
Iranians
the
from
people,
outside Iran.
no, they doesn't. Okay, that's a misrepresentation. A division suggests like there's a 50-50 split. Having some
Mm.
crazy people coming out and saying some crazy things, it's almost as if I come to Israel and be like, hey, there seems to be a division in Israel over Zionism because there are some Israelis who are anti-Zionist, like saying that's basically the same thing. Like, oh, is there a division on Zionism in Israel, on whether Israel should exist or not? I don't think so. Am I going to be able to find in Israel some people, some crazy people who are anti-Zionist and also Israeli at the same time? I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to find some crazy people in Israel who believe that. Doesn't mean there's a division over Zionism in Israel. So don't represent it as a division. The Iranian people are more united than ever, and unity doesn't mean 100%. You can never achieve 100% unity.
There's some people that are like,
Of
oh,
course,
there's gonna be
there
some.
are people with retarded views. We have those as well. That doesn't mean there's a division. Suggests a much greater split than we have. The vast majority of Iranian people are shouting, like, look at the streets. Look at the chants coming out of the streets in Iran. Are there anti-Pahlavi chants? Are there
Oh,
any
one last thing I
chants?
was gonna
Are
ask you.
there is there any other name being called for other than the Pahlavi name? Is there any
Also,
is there a single other person? But go on.
one last thing I want to ask you. I don't know if you saw PBD's last video. Man, he's putting Pahlavi under the bus, man.
Fuck him. He's dead to us. He's dead to the Iranian people. He's gone. He's completely. I mean, I don't
Okay,
think he
that's good.
cares, but
That's
he's
good.
completely gone. He has no credibility among us anymore. I mean, not that he ever did.
That's what I wanted to add.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I will go quickly through the list
I mean,
because
just let me imagine the Iranian people in thousands of numbers dying for the name of Pahlavi, and you, as a so-called Iranian, coming out and going against the name that the Iranian people are bleeding for. Imagine that. Imagine the kind of disgusting scumbag you have to be to sit in a safe without any risk to yourself and then go against the name that Iranian people are bleeding for. If that is not betraying your country, I don't know what is. Sorry, I said
It
that.
very well could just be Muslim Arabs. They did the same thing with Palestine. All of a sudden, they were all Palestinians. Every single one of them was from Palestine, had their brother there,
okay.
because they're claiming that they're Iranian and having a dissenting view.
No, no,
Muslims
no,
do
no, no.
that. They jump
No,
onto
no, no.
everything.
No, they're Iranians. No, 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 no. They're Iranians. They're just betraying their own country. That's what I'm not gonna
Oh,
say. I know he's Iranian. Yeah,
oh.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
guys,
Anyway, go
let's
on.
the list is a little crazy today. So we have right now we have Daniel Dom, then Jeffrey, Savannah, myself, Paul, Eileen, and Rebecca. Did I miss anybody? Jeffrey. Didn't I say your name? I said your name.
Yeah, he's on the list. And
All right, great. So yeah, so let's go with Daniel Dom.
Well, I hope we'll have enough time and like first thing I want to ask or maybe give a suggestion, although who am I to give suggestions, but look, the Ukrainians right now are fighting against Russia and Russia is collaborating with Iran. So my question is, did someone from the
sorry.
Persian,
Not with Iran. Not with Iran. With the Islamic Republic. They're not They're
yeah,
collaborating against Iran.
sorry,
Yeah,
as I'm Israeli and that's how we like
it's
was
okay.
it.
It's okay.
So against the Mullah regime, against the Ayatollah regime, I believe if people from the Persian diaspora, can I say, did someone try to work with the Ukrainian intelligence forces and the Azerbaijanis?
Not that I'm aware of. I do know that Iranian people stand against Putin. but I don't know if there has been an opportunity of collaboration. I haven't heard of it. The
Let
Azerbaijanis are not, the Azerbaijanis. There's something like, I'm not going to go into the details, but we are, no, not that I have heard
so
of.
it's
Go ahead.
not so possible right now. Well, because I try to bring the Ukrainian thing here, because if someone familiar with the story that took place like a half year ago, Ukrainian intelligence worked against the Russian terrorists in Africa, in Sahara, I guess, where the Tuaregs are, and they
Yeah.
helped the Tuaregs
So I don't think,
abolish.
here's the thing. It's easier for Ukrainian intelligence to infiltrate African states. I think for inside Iran to infiltrate the Islamic Republic, I think only Mossad and the United States intelligence are capable of doing something like that. I don't think the Ukrainians are capable of infiltrating, or are willing to, because it's, I mean, willing to put so much resources. The benefit cost analysis doesn't make. They need to focus on Russia. Africa makes sense sometimes because it's easier, but for
Mhm.
Iran, I think mostly makes sense mostly for Mossad and U.S. intelligence.
Well, another reason is that Iran still gives Russia all the Shahed the technology that
Trojans, yeah.
is, and Russia uses it against Ukraine. So maybe the Ukrainians may have some interest in putting some force.
Obviously Israel has a lot more interest. Like, they're not trying to wipe out
Yeah,
Ukraine.
no,
Like,
I
the Islamic
don't. I
Republic.
don't
So
compare it.
I know. I'm just saying that there's some interest, but not enough to get so directly involved.
And the other thing is,
Last point, because
Let's make it brief.
all right, there is Russian opposition in Europe that speaking bullshit about the Iranian. They're saying stuff like, "Oh, the Iranians can't cope and get some transition government hands because this, and nobody
who
is
gives a
really
who
willing
gives?
to."
Why do we give a shit what Russians are saying about us? Like, fuck them.
I hope it's so, but they like have many grants and the people pay them and people listen to them and like
Okay,
I
yeah,
don't
but
know,
it doesn't
just
matter. We're in the middle of a war,
okay.
and the Islamic Republic is about to fall. So some people's opinions, right? We are way past that point right now, right? So
Well, I
that,
hope
like,
so. Thank you.
Right.
yeah. Also, Daniel, I'm going to make you a premium member so you have access to all our other discussions in the future. Okay.
Well, thank you.
All right.
I'm in, by the way. I sent it to the mail.
All right. Make sure to check it. Jeffrey, you need to turn on your mic, my friend.
Where's Samantha?
You can't hear me, Jeffrey?
Unmute.
Okay, you can speak. You need to unmute it. Do you see? Do you see a
We
little
can't.
microphone
We
emoji
can't.
on the left down?
He's gonna type in the chat, because let's move to the next person. And you could type in the chat because we
Sure
cannot.
thing.
Okay.
Sure thing.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Savannah.
Hi.
Hey.
So I have been following along with everything that's going on, obviously. And I saw something, I'm sure other people saw it too, just a couple hours ago after Donald Trump showed his support and stated that help was coming. Russia issued a warning to him. And I kind of just read a headline. I tried to look it up, but I've been working and I was wondering if that was it. Like, they basically just said, the consequences of interfering would be there would be disastrous consequences. And I was wondering if that was like just as far as relations go, or is Russia like threatening?
No, Russia. So Russia is threatening. So Russia is threatening the United States that there's going to be consequences if they help the Iranian people topple the Islamic Republic. That was their warning.
I just was able to
Okay.
read kind of a
If they're
headline, but basically, sorry.
warning, that's the only thing they're going to do and nothing else. They're not going to lift a finger for the Islamic Republic.
Putin, like, he denounced it. It's not really. He didn't threat or said that he's going to back it up somehow.
Okay. That's what I was asking. I was wondering if it was referring to like just
He
within the
basically
United
Islamic
Nations,
Republic.
or
The Islamic Republic is so done that it's not worth, like, it's basically betting on a losing horse. Like, neither China or Russia is going to bother trying to invest in something that is already like is wasting
Okay.
money and
Well,
resources.
that's just what I wanted to clarify. I read that and it kind of made my heart stop a little bit, you know.
Russia has to worry about its own government not being toppled. Like, they're not in a position to threaten United States in any
Right.
capacity. They can't even deal with Ukraine, which is the poorest country in Europe, and they want to threaten America.
Yeah, I did think it was a little far reaching, but it's
Yeah,
good to know that that's not what it was.
yeah. Okay.
All right, it's me now. Two things. I don't know if to reply to some of the things that you said on your live stream, or maybe should I say how I just view the situation? What do you prefer? Because we're short in time. I don't want to talk too much.
No, I mean, I like it when you talk. So like, your views are. I'm interested in your views. So you pick whatever you think. I'm sure either way it's going to be fine. So, and
Okay.
take your time.
Okay. I think that the way that I see the situation on the ground right now proves my claim from our last conversation. Mobilization is king when you talk about wars. And it's exactly what's happening. I don't know if you are following exactly where Tusi did it. He followed where the shipments are getting from, and he followed some planes and some cargo ships. And who was it? It was Cat Lady and Babak.
Guys, when
And
Asi is speaking, wait until Asi is finished before you raise your hand, so he doesn't have to stop talking.
yeah, so you see, I think that everyone is pretty much on board with helping the Iranian people by now. You can see that the more weaklings of the world are also starting to make their voice louder, like Germany, that is saying now that they lost all legitimacy, and the world is starting to turn on the IRGC. I don't think that they want to show it too quick because the IRGC have hostages. According to Israeli security estimation, we are talking about 20,000 now, not 12,000. So yeah, a lot of people. And this thing is going to commence. It's too late to turn back right now. The messages that Minister Miri Regev had said a couple of hours before is it's adjusting with what Trump said. They asked her something like, "Oh, it seems like the things with Iran are hitting right now. Are we going to attack?" And her reply was, "What do you want me to give you the time also and the date and the hour?" So kind of like what Trump said, wait for the next 24 hours and see for yourself. I have a feeling that everybody is on this. When I say everybody, I mean maybe some states in Europe and Israel and America 100% in there. I do have a lot of criticism for Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump for showing the cards too early and firing the shot that will start the race for the Iranian people before they mobilize the forces that they need to
Well,
mobilize.
can I defend them for a second? Because I think they needed to give the Iranian people a little bit of hope to know that something is underway so that they don't get disappointed, so that they continue fighting. I think that's why they had to put some information out regarding the attack.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the
But
first thing. The second thing that I wanted to say is I think that we are watching history in the making. It's more than logical to be said when you are burying friends, but it's not the time. You will mourn,
Mhm.
you will cry. I agree with Goldie on this. You need to look at these people like we, the Israeli, look at the warriors of 48 of the independence. I don't think that you understand that one day your grandchildren, Armin, maybe will watch this video and they will hear stories about what hellish place Iran used to be. And it's all thanks to those 48 warriors who freed Iran in the Independence Day of Iran, that is, I think, very close. Those 20,000, that's kind of touchy now. Those 20,000 will be remembered as the Iranian immortals, just like in the old days. They died, people replaced them very quickly, and they won. That's the legacy. It's almost poetic, I think, but very sad, of course. That's that's my point. I think it's
that
close.
was that was very beautiful. I see. I hope
Thank you.
you're right.
Thank you, sir. Barry. Okay. So now we have Paul.
And he met us all. Paul?
Yeah. Can you
Go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yes, we could hear you.
Okay, good. I'm on X and I follow the OSNIT groups, which is open source intelligence groups. And from what I've been seeing on all that they've been saying about possibly what Trump was pointing toward was something could be imminent within the next 24 to 48 hours. Now, I checked the position to where all the fleets are, and at this time, we don't seem to have a battle group in the Persian area. But what we do have in the Persian area are submarines. So there is a suggestion that we could possibly see a wave of cruise missiles in that form. Now, I think the reason for the delay is because every European nation, as that announcement was made by Trump, are recalling all of their people out of Iran. So that's going to take time for them to move those people out. Now, because of the blackout of the internet there, I've been watching what they call Pizza Tracker. And normally when Pizza Tracker starts operating, that means that something is imminent within the next 24 hours. So we're looking at a possibility that things will start to ramp up really, really quick. And I think that's what Trump was pointing to. I also noticed that he has met with the king. He met with him or talked to him today, and they are conversing. That's the reason why Trump pointed out that he had cut all ties with the regime, and the regime is doomed to fail. Their propaganda is crazy on X. I cannot believe the amount of propaganda this regime is pumping out. But that's to be expected. But I think we're going to see something in the next 24 to 48 hours. And I know that Israel is on high alert. I kind of turned my Twitter page into an intelligence network. That's what I'm more into, is the intelligence of what people are saying, where things are going, where the assets are. And as far as Russia intervening, I don't think they really want to risk that. And I know that the Iranians have called their ships back from the tip of South Africa because of the situation that's going on, because they're doing exercise drill with the bricks down there. So they're on their way back, but how fast they can get back, only time will tell on that. So there are military movements going on that we are not seeing, but that are leading toward something happening real soon. That's all I really wanted to say.
Thank you.
I saw you, Dingleberry. Saw you too, Jeffrey.
You got, Jeffrey and Dingleberry, you're already on the list.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. So I stand with the Iranians, Javid Shah,
Thank you.
and I'd just like to know. So I'm from Malta. We're a tiny country, very not influential in world politics. What can we do from back home and from other countries we live in to support the Iranians right now?
Well, you could call your members, your representatives, and ask them to recognize Prince Reza Pahlavi as the official representative of the Iranian people. But also, even more simple is to just be active on social media and amplify the voices of Iranian people.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you, Armin.
And thank you for even asking and being here. Really appreciate it. What country are you from again? Malta. Okay,
Yeah.
Malta. I'm gonna, you know what? You just asking that question. Once the internet comes back in Iran, I'm gonna go on my Persian live streams to Iran, and I'm gonna mention to people that somebody from Malta came and asked us how she could help the Iranian people, and I'm sure that is going to make them feel really good. That's how widespread the support for the Iranian people is. So, Thank you for that.
Yeah, I live in Ireland, so I'm sharing it with my friends here as well.
Awesome. Thank
See
you
what
for
I
that.
can do. I'll speak to some people.
Thank you. And Rebecca, I'm going to change your membership from standard to premium so you have access to all our future discussions, okay?
Thank you. I've been supporting you a long time. We'll continue.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Take care.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. And let's try Jeffrey because it was his turn and we had some problem.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can
Yes.
hear you, sir.
Oh, great. All right. So, just a little background on me. I've had over 30 years experience in national security. It's centered around missile defense, being weaponry, counterterrorism, among other things. I've assisted Ukrainian, Taiwanese, Persian resistant groups. If you look me up online, you'll see who I am and what I'm about. So, some of the things I can add to this discussion to better help your efforts in supporting the brave Iranian protesters take down the Mullah regime that's illegally occupied Iran since 1979. First is to view that conflict within the broader geopolitical and geostrategic environment, which is it is one main battle within a broader war between the United States-led Western, alliance and what I call the autocratic bloc, which is comprised of Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, the Chinese Communist Party, the Mullah regime, previously the Alawite regime, North Korean regime, and all their sub-state transnational proxies and terrorist organizations that are co-aligned, which are so numerous it would take me forever to go through them all. So what can you do right here? Because a lot of people are asking that, is to contribute to the soft power battle space. This is what you, Armin, and Goldie, and Tusi, and all the rest of them are doing. That is sometimes called the battle of the narratives. One is to disprove the disinformation that is being pushed both by the Mullah regime along with their co-aligned patrons, whether it's Putin or Xi, and or say sub-state transnational actors that are co-aligned with the Mullah regime and broadly around the world. The other part is to maintain public buy-in and guard against issue fatigue, because that translates into national will, and national will is to find and support policies of peace in wartime. Armin, you had actually mentioned that very emotionally on Goldie's channel. I was very much moved by that, which is why I sent you the email I did, and I gave you my contact if you ever want to reach out. I'm only going to talk from open intelligence indicators. So people are looking at things like pizza tracker or where certain aircraft are going, particularly like, non-stealth aircraft that are a lot of fuelers and stuff that we use to sit there and fuel long-range strike, aircraft like B-2s or shorter range aircraft like F-35s and the rest of that. That's part and parcel. So what do the indicators kind of tell me? There's probably going to be a military action very soon. You have the peach tracker thing, because everybody mentioned that. You have Tusi talking about like certain, you remember the KC-135 that kind of like violated Mullah occupied airspace yesterday, kind of the, what's his name on Tusi? I always mispronounce his name, had tracked that. You have statements from the State Department telling Americans to get out of Iran, independent of U.S. help. Our allies and other actors are involved right now in doing the same. A lot of that tells me that there is a increasing degree of probability that military operations and or supporting actions are coming very shortly in the overt sense. There's already stuff going on covertly. So when people are sitting there and trying to push the anti-Zionist stuff or the anti-Pahlavi stuff, that's almost assuredly either adversaries or co-aligned actors trying to fragment what might be called, within the context of the battle for liberating Iran, the anti-Mullah bloc's kind of, it's like strategic information influence operation to fragment that coalition and undermine national will, because that regime is desperate. Now, as far as like the strikes are concerned, I did some of the pre-assessment prior to Trump's strike against the Mullah regime's nuclear program and immediately post bomber battle damage assessment. Here's the issue. So it's true that we don't have carrier battle groups in the area because we're dealing with some of the things that are going on in the Caribbean, not the least of which is the violent Marxist Maduro regime that had both organizational operational ties to Putin's criminalized counterintelligence, the Chinese Communist Party, the Mullah regime, and Hezbollah, right? They were actually, the Maduro regime was using Venezuela and further developing Venezuela as a staging point to engage in what's sometimes called gray zone or hybrid warfare, which is like conflict other than open conventional war. So drug fair, disinformation campaign, mass illegal immigration to destabilize countries, which you're seeing going on right now.
But what?
Then you're seeing an uptick in that, which means that members of the autocratic bloc are almost assuredly trying to undermine our ability to carry out the operations that are almost assuredly incoming.
But Jeffrey, why would you? Why would you need this carrier strike group when you have the airbase in Qatar, which is
Right.
adjacent?
So there are alternative means to Paul Aldridge actually talked about it. So I was just bouncing off of the observation that he made. It's true. We have alternative means to alternative platforms we can use to allocate to strikes. So it's like long range strike platforms like B2s out of San Diego Garcia. You have certain air bases I don't want to name in the region that have certain long range runways that can use heavy lift aircraft. Saudi Arabia is very important if you're going to sit there and have the House of Saud and Israel, be involved in the strikes because they don't have heavy lift aircraft, and subsequently forward basing your strike aircraft would assist with those kinds of things, sub launch, cruise missiles and all the rest of it. I was just going through that to kind of like help bounce off of what Paul was and help, like, I guess maybe tighten the shock group a little bit on one of the observations Paul was mentioning. Did that help, Asi?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Armin,
Oh,
also glad to
yeah.
see you. Tell Goldie I said hello.
That was amazing, Jeffrey. That was like a lot of, I'm so glad that you're here. I hope you continue coming to our discussion groups because you
I'll
really,
send out my
you're in.
background. Reach out anytime.
And
Yeah,
Java Shaw.
I'm gonna make you Javid Shah. Thank you so much. I'm gonna make you a premium member so that hopefully you come back into our other discussions so that we could ask you
Too
questions.
kind.
And also,
By all means, do so.
um,
Look, if you want to ask questions now, go ahead.
and I also sent you a message on school here for asking for your email. So if you can send me your email there, that would be amazing. But
Yeah, it's
that,
the Statesman one that was sent to your email.
oh, you did?
Yep.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
gonna
Along
check
with
it.
some of my contacts within the broader patriotic bloc that have been taking the fight against like any number of domestic actors, whether it's radical leftists, Imam Rauf, Daisy Kana faced off against them. I mean, like, you'll see who I am.
Okay, guys, if you have questions just from Jeffrey, raise your hand. I want them to raise their hand because I want to make sure we get to other
Oh.
people in the list so that Asi will add them to the list so that when it's their turn, they could ask any questions if they want.
By all means.
all right. So let's keep in mind that you can refer to Jeffrey and we'll move the list. If you got something to say to him, just go on. So now we had Brittany or Brittany. I'm not sure I'm reading it right.
Sorry, it's Brittany,
Brittany.
but my son's embarrassed and he asked me not to talk. So, Jeffrey, can you send me your email too? I'll just send you an email if that's okay. Thanks.
I'm going to post it in the chat if you'd like. Feel free. That's my open email.
Yep.
Is that all right, Avi or Armin?
Yeah, of course, of course.
All right. A cat lady.
Yes. Oh my God, I have some problems with the platform today. You keep getting stuck, all of you together a couple of times. I'm not sure I heard everything. So and also I'm not that updated. So I just wanted to say I'm updated for like an hour ago, not after that. So but it was earlier today that you asked, how can I explain the why is Israel not doing it already? And one point that I heard is, maybe you've heard it, I don't know, I just want to say it, that until all the air defense system and everything is in place in the bases of the US in the area, we will not get the good to go because they will be in danger immediately. So we cannot do that. If until it's not only about politics, it's also about lives. That's another point. Uh, and you know what I'm feeling. I don't know what I don't want to everybody say it again. So
Thank you, cat lady.
Thank you, cat lady. And just from now, Israeli media is kind of blasting that we are ready and we are on high alert. It kind of smells like they're preparing the public not to get into panic. And now let's move on. So we had Babak. Babak.
Is this first my question to Jeffrey or the normal ones first?
You can ask Jeffrey.
Hi, Jeffrey. You say you're a military expert. So just a question. If we drop down weapons and ammunition with parachuters down to the people, would that work? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear. Yeah.
So that's one of the things we looked at. A couple of lines of effort was how do you provide assistance, both kinetic or non-kinetic, read lethal and non-lethal support to the brave Iranian protesters that are being killed by the IRGC and the besieged brigades, well, everybody knows the actors that the mullahs use, right? I'm pretty sure. So here's the issue, right? Some of that, it's true. This also, I want to also, with that question, I also want to bounce back to what the other person said, why Israel's taking some time setting up their defenses. So as you know, during the 12-day war, we were able to shoot down a lot of the Mullah regime's ballistic missiles. That said, we burned through about 25% of our THAAD interceptors in 12 days. And when that happened, it's one of the reasons why people like me involved in missile defense has been pushing things like directed energy. Israel's version is Iron Beam, although there's range issues and a whole bunch of other technical stuff that it would take another whole hour to go through. I'm just saying, just as a kind of a reference. So, like Iron Dome, David's Sling, David's Fist, all these other different kind of interceptors that are comprised of what is sometimes called a air and missile defense system. It's not that we can't hit a bullet with a bullet. We can. The issue is this, is that interceptor-centric defensive architectures have finite magazines. Once they're out of interceptors, they have a free shot. So what's the issue with that? If we're going to go in and drop things into the brave Iranian protesters, which may or may not happen, just to put it that way, even though Israel did a lot of really good work, the Israeli Air Force did a lot of heavy lifting in that 12-day war. They took out a lot of air defense, a lot of nuclear capabilities, Sands, Fordow, Isfahan, and Natanz. If you want, I can talk about why we actually sent in B-2s. I was a part and parcel of that. Not the only person I played a role. The other part is that the Mullah regime still has some level of air defense. And after the 12-day war, both Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state and the Chinese Communist Party, along with some help from the North Korean regime, has played a big effort in trying to reconstitute the Mullah regime's capability, both in ballistic missile capability, refining their official material outside of Iran, right? Before we struck Fordow, Isfahan, and Natanz, some of that stuff was outsourced. Do you know why? I want to mention this because you're not wrong, Amir, right? The people in Iran are not wrong to understand that President Trump has their back more than any other president in the past five administrations. One of the bigger reasons why President Trump sent in the B-2s is because, much like my assessment to some of the retired flag officers in the IDF in late 2022, right, regarding threat, risk, and vulnerability assessment regarding the Mullah regime's nuclear program, and that the Israelis, I told them, this is in the open now, there's going to come a time where Bibi and the Israelis are very rightly going to go, we don't care what the State Department says, the Mullah regime is close to a bomb, we're going to take our best shot. What's the problem? Israel, while as good as their Air Force is, and they are unbelievable, they don't have heavy lift aircraft, right? So the Mullah regime spent 20 years strategically dispersing and, more importantly, underground and hardening all their strategic assets. A lot of that was actually assisted by leftists in Canada. The ultra-hardened micro-reinforced concrete that the Mullah regimes used to harden Isfahan, Fordow, and Natanz was developed in part by certain leftists in, King's College in Canada, right? So how does that play into why President Trump went and sent the B-2s in? So the IAEA comes out. Mullah regime is 2 weeks away from having 11 bombs. The Israelis are like, we're making our shot. We're not going to die for anybody's political convenience. And for good reason. I love Bibi. I know people that know his chief of staff. Israel does its best shot. Israel only had strike aircraft. Fordow, Isfahan, and Natanz were buried so deeply that Israel could not hold them at risk conventionally. So that means Israel was thinking about using unconventional means to hold them at risk, meaning they were going to use a minor version of what sometimes is called the Samson Protocol, which means if Israel's state is threatened, they will use and launch all of their nuclear capability against all of their adversaries. And when Donald Trump saw that, he went, holy shit, and he sent in the B-2s because the B-2s were able to drop larger ordnance to take out Fordow, Isfahan, and Natanz, not only to assist our Israeli allies, also to save Iranians from, like the Iranian people, from the collateral damage if that would have been done. Like that was actually talked about. Bibi's not a bad guy, right? I mean, I know that, Asi, I know you have issues with him. I'm saying as far as like being bloodthirsty after October 7th, there were people in the Knesset that were pushing for the Samson Protocol. It was Bibi that shot it down. So why am I going through all of that? Because there was a lot of damage done to the Mullah regime. right, by Israel. Amazing people. That said, they still maintain some significant level of air defense. And if you do not do seeds or suppression of air defense missions prior to dropping off that stuff, then you're putting, say, your cargo aircraft at risk, or worse, let's say the food, water, medical supplies, Starlink communications, because that's some of the stuff I pushed up the chain, falls in the hand of the besieged and or the IRGC. Hopefully that answered you. I touched a whole bunch of stuff. That's the best I could do right now.
No, I think it was a very good and full answer. All right. Let's move to.
Asi, did you see what I wrote? I wanted to add or ask one sentence, please.
We're so freaking full. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let's go. So we had Babak, we had Dingleberry. Dingleberry.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Short. I'm gonna say it short, but before my rant, I'm Danish Iranian, and that's not that important.
Nice to
What
have
I'm
you.
gonna talk about is my father lived through Iran through the revolution and the Iraq and Iran war. He lived in the 19th. He lived to Denmark. So after Khomeini died and Khomeini took power and stuff, my father is he's very anti-Shah, but he's also anti the new regime. And the reason why he's anti-Shah is because he feels like the Shah was a puppet of the West, and or imperialism, or whatever you want to call it. But the point that I want to talk about is like in Denmark, even though I don't care that much about politics before the whole Palestine Gaza stuff, but that's not the topic today. But the thing about it in Denmark, if you look who covers the things about Iran, it's always Danish people. Iranians themselves don't talk about what happens in Iran. And every time a Danish person talks about Iran, the Iranians get very defensive. They even begin defending the Islamic Republic. There's like big articles on Danish where they say, we don't need the support of the Danish, the Iranian peoples. I'm translating from Danish to English for freedom and stuff. And then he said that the people the Europeans only want to help Iran because they want to install a new a puppet of the West. He says that you guys don't know shit about Iran or what the politics is the Danish people. Like they say, you think that we want the Shah's son back, but that's not true. He says about there is like an ethnic national group made of Kurds and Azeris, Turkmens, and other Balzuri Arabs and Armenians. That's like 35%. That's one group. There's the Sunni and other major religious group. That's 15%. Then there's the Republic, 30%. There's the MKK, and then there's like other groups. Then says that the monarchy group in Iran is 5 to 10%. Like I don't know because I don't. Even though I'm Iranian, my Farsi is not that good. I'm very good at understanding, but reading not that good. And my father, as I said, he's like what's it called? I don't know what it is. He's Republican, or maybe I don't know. Like he doesn't view the MKK as bad as you do. Like he doesn't say. He says that I heard you said that the MKK is Islamic, but my father says that it doesn't make sense because communists are the most anti-religious group. But then again, I don't know. My father, he also says that Stalin did good things in Poland. He says that the Stalin saved Poland from communism, or saved them.
Let's give Armin the chance to answer to what you said.
So the main question is how could MEK be Islamic when communism is anti-religion? Is that the main question?
That's one thing. But also that in Denmark, Danish people, when they cover about what happens in Iran, like the Israel-Iran war or like the protest in 2002 and 3, they're like, when Danish people cover, the Iranians get very defensive. They don't like when Danish people talk about Iran or anything related to Iran. No, it's because in Denmark, the most Iranian, I think, are not monarchists. They're like anti. So every time they hear Danish people support Reza Pahlavi, they say, "Oh, you just support."
So is this based on personal experience, or do you have that statistics?
No, I look like in the Facebook or Instagram when Danish
Yeah,
people
that is
make
not
posts.
that is not scientifically collected data, so it's not a good representation of what the Iranian people think. If you look at data, the Iranians are extremely anti-MEK, and the highest amount of support is for Princess of Pahlavi. And I don't expect that in a specific country to be different than other countries. So what you see on social media has more to do with what you engage with personally and what the algorithm is guessing that you're interested in. So if you once like click on something that was anti-Pahlavi from an Iranian, then the algorithm is going to be like, oh, so you must like anti-Pahlavi content from Iranian. So here's a lot more. So that's biased information. It's not a very good way of coming up to with conclusion. And regarding how could Marxists be Islamists at the same time, Marxism is more an economic point of view. I mean, what the MEK got out of it was basically the economic perspectives, right? Not the anti-God perspective. I mean, people mix and ideologies with each other all the time. Like the ideologies evolve and change, and they merge and they divide and they evolve all the time. So this is not something weird at all. And in fact, Shia Islam is very. In fact, it wasn't the MEK that invented this. Like this happened way before the MEK. There were thinkers who are responsible for the merger of Islamic ideas and Marxism, especially Shia Islam, and one of them was Ali Shariati. And there's actually a lot of parallels in Shia Islam and Marxism. This is why the merger between Islamism and Marxism happened way more successfully among Shias and Sunnis, especially given that like the Hussein, like because here's the thing with Sunni Islam, you were not supposed to be rebellious against the system because they were the system. The Sunnis ruled over the Islamic Empire for many years. The Shias were the rebels, so they have revolutionary, rebellious tropes and their stories. For example, the story of Hussein was about rebelling against the system, against the authorities. So Marxist revolutionary language actually managed to merge perfectly with Shia Islamic ideology. In fact, it was Ali Shariati who turned Hussein, which is the holiest person among Shia Muslims, and his fight in Karbala into a Marxist. He turned them into a revolutionary Marxist. So yeah, even these religious ideas have evolved throughout the years. So it's I mean, if you want to say that, then you could also say like, oh, Shia Islam is not supposed to rule. For hundreds of years, Shia Islam was about believed in the fact that you shouldn't be ruling until the Mahdi comes back. So how are the mullahs all of a sudden ruling? Well, because they just invented a new ideology, the Vilayat Faqih, with the guardianship of the jurists or Khomeinism, just came up with like, hey, how about we change that part? And we say like, because of this and this, we can rule. So just because it was in a way for many, many years, that doesn't mean that they cannot change it. These are ideas. It's not based on objective reality. You could just change them. It's not like math and physics. Okay. It's just ideology. You could just make it up as you go.
Can I say one thing real
Just
quick?
to
I'm gonna make it very
Dingleberry's
short.
defense, just to Dingleberry's defense, I live in Denmark too, and I haven't been in every town in Denmark, but I've been in Odense and Copenhagen. I live in Odense again now. Iranians here are actually quite crazy, okay? Many of them are anti-Shah,
Yeah,
anti-monarchy,
maybe
believe
you
me.
got I don't know. I'm just saying if maybe you're right, but I'm just saying if I want to believe that, I have to see data. I'm not going to go based on your opinion and Dingleberry's opinion. I'm not going to go
No,
based on personal experience. I'm not going to go based on social media posts. Maybe you're right, but I need to see data. And even if you're right, I guess you got the crazy ones.
I don't want to speculate, so I leave it here, you know.
Can I say one
it's
thing real
just
quick?
it's got nothing to do with algorithm. I see these people. I meet them.
That's also personal experience. It's not a very reliable source of information.
Like my father tells me that the reason why American Iranians support them are so pro Shah is because most monarchists that left Iran went to America. That's why you always see when you see American media or anything that's why it's so pro Shah is because that's where all the monarchists live. But the
For,
other groups,
forget
Iranians, all the other conspiracy other places don't exist.
Forget Iranians in America and Iranians in Canada and Iranians in Denmark. Look at what the Iranians in Iran are saying. Look at what the Iranians in Iran in the streets of Iran. Look at the name. Whose name are they chanting? Look at the who are they risking their lives for? The Iranians inside Iran.
Yeah, okay, but that's fair. But I heard a lot of people say that the people who support the Shah are like they're like the like what's it called? Hevun,
Animal.
Scapegoats.
Hevun is like
Sacrificial.
animal.
Yeah.
yeah,
Wait, they're
the
saying that
Shul,
they're like the Yahudis, so they're accusing them of being like Jews.
yeah, they are Yahudi, like Sakavashi.
Okay,
This is the ones who support.
Sagiv actually means like a wild animal. So basically, you're telling me the people who are telling you this are also anti-Semitic Jew haters. Okay, so that's the source of your
No,
information.
because
Jew
my father is
hating.
not. And
They're-
my father tells me that, but my father is not. I wouldn't.
you
Sure
you just
sounds
said
like
yeah.
that.
He sounds like he is.
But the thing is, my father, he I don't know, he maybe I don't know, he
Okay,
reads a
okay.
lot of stuff in.
Anybody who's saying that pro monarchy, pro Pahlavi people are like Jews and like they're what like wild dog, like Jewish wild dogs. Okay, I don't think that's a good source of information. Let's move on. I mean,
Let's move
actually, I'll count that as an endorsement. Anybody who hates Jews, I want them to also hate Pahlavi because I don't want somebody who's anti-Jewish to be on our side. Okay, if I think it's an endorsement that somebody who hates Jews also hates Oscar. Oscar, close your mic. I'm hearing myself. I think it's an endorsement that somebody who hates Jews, if they also hate Pahlavi, that's an endorsement. Okay, go on. I see.
All right. So now we have Himat. Himat?
Hello. If you guys don't know, there is a news just that came now or 1 hour ago that there was a meeting in the Israel Security Cabinet and they discussed about Iran and they decided, I think, I don't know if this is true, that they have decided to strike on Iran and they have authorized the operation as a Iron Strike. I don't know if guys that you know about it, but I don't know if it is true. And I wanted to say that UAE also warned the USA about the consequences that are catastrophic if USA strikes on Iran. So I know that Iran warned the USA, I mean the regime warned USA that it will launch all its assets at once if USA strikes it or if Israel intervenes. So if they do, they will. I mean, they will launch everything they have, all the 500 Khyber missiles and everything. So is the UAE warning about this or something else? I wanted to ask
Yeah,
about this.
Jeffrey, if you want to say something, write it because nobody could read your lips. Actually, that's a very interesting point because that's the main concern because the Islamic Republic is going to be incapable. I think that they're not going to be able to hit Israel very hard. They're not going to be able to hit the United States bases very hard. I mean, I think Jeffrey might knows better these things better than me. So, but they actually are capable of hitting UAE assets. They're capable of hitting Saudi Arabia very well. They're capable of hitting Qatar very well. So they're like, if we cannot reach American interests or Israeli interests or bases, we're going to go after your allies. We're going to go after whoever we can actually hurt. They know by threatening Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar, those countries will use their lobbies in the United States to try to stop a war. They effectively turn Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE into their lobbies in Washington because they don't have as powerful of a lobby in Washington themselves. By threatening them, they're trying to use those countries to force America to stop going into war. Does that answer your question, Iman?
I think you are connected to some secret agency because I think you're very smart and I really like to appreciate it. And yeah.
Yes.
Secret agents, I think, keep it to themselves though. And they don't show up in
Yeah. Yeah, guys, we're lucky to have Jeffrey here. The fact that he's making time for us, we should
Oh,
be
he's a
very
gold
grateful.
mine.
Yeah. Hopefully he continues to come to our group.
Okay, so now we had Jeffrey. It's your turn again.
So I'll bounce on. That's very sweet of you to say there. Hi, Matt. My wife is, American of Eastern Indian descent, so I should know how to pronounce it. I can pronounce Singh, I just can't pronounce first name. Anyway, so a couple of things, right? You're not wrong in the sense that the Mullah regime, like one of the concerns is the Mullah regime striking out at everything in the region, particularly if you have a actor that frames their position from such a domain of loss. They go down the S curve of prospect theory from risk adverse, risk acceptant, because they have nothing left to lose. That was something taught to me by one of my mentors at Georgetown 21 years ago. He's the co-founder of the Middle East Institute, which deals with liberating Iran. And his name was Dr. Tanter. He wrote a really good book on deterrence and rogue regimes and counterterrorism. I'll post it in the thing. Anyway, so you're not wrong in the sense that that's a concern. There is another index in the overall calculation you have to keep in mind, right? Which is particularly when you have a pseudo-theologically motivated actor, right? Because Islam is not an Abrahamic religion. The belief system that Armin very accurately identified as the underpinnings of the Mullah regime. They're the most inelastic, right? Because they don't frame their position of gain or loss. What is it physically? They frame it metaphysically, like throwing little notes down, like Ahmadiyya dinner jacket. We used to throw little notes down to the 12th Imam in the well, right? So keeping that in mind, you have to weigh relative risk, right? The risk of not doing, right? Or the risk of retaliation if you do. If the simple fact is, given the Mullah regime's inelasticity regarding its pursuit of nuclear weapons and or weapons of mass destruction in general, and the fact that you have these enabling global socioeconomic and technological trends, right? Advancements of transportation technology, minimizing loss of strength, gradient, stop, power, water, advancements of telecommunications, information technology, minimizing transaction costs regarding information, and a integration of a post-industrial knowledge-based globalized economy, although we're delinking. What it means is it's a lot easier now for smaller and smaller actors to get capabilities it was previously kept. It was only available to very powerful actors like superpowers, right? So keeping those things in mind, what it says is that I would contend the lesser risk is taking the shot now to remove the Mullah regime, because long term, like having the Mullah regime sustain itself is an unacceptable risk, both for the region and for the world, given the Mullah regime's, involvement in being part of the overall autocratic bloc. Look, it's very simple. It's very clear that we're in the open stages of a high intensity world war, right? So what we have to do now is take down as many of the members of the autocratic bloc as possible to minimize the damage, or hopefully to short circuit it. That's one of the things that makes those kids in Iran the bravest. When Reza said that those kids aren't just saving Iran, that they're playing a role in helping save the world, he wasn't lying. So you have to weigh relative risk, Heimat. You're not wrong about the risk. And that doesn't mean you don't try to set up all your ducks as best as you can in something called time compression, right? I mean, you don't have endless time, so that you can minimize that damage. That said, the best chance is the Mullah regime has to go. And our best shot is the Iranian people in supporting them. That was in my report, both pre and post strike against the Mullah regime's nuclear program.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Just one thing. Can you tell me or ensure me if the Israeli security cabinet thing was true? Is it true that they have decided to strike Iran?
You mean Operation Iron Strike?
Yes, yes.
If I had any kind of in-depth operational knowledge about Operation Iron Strike, I would never say it publicly. I will say that it's very clear from open intelligence sources that Operation Iron Strike has very much been viewed, and a lot of the open intelligence sources I looked at said has already been finalized. Whether or not when or where they're going to strike, that's a different story. That's another point with why we do things like strategic deception and denial. Like Goldie tries to talk about this in her own way there, Armin. Representative republics have an inherent disability in things like strategic deception and denial by the very open nature of our societies, right? Israel and the United States, bad guys, whether they're mullahs, whether they're Putin's criminalized counter-TICOMs, whatever, they just sit right outside your air base and sip coffee with a cell phone. They go, oh, the activity's going up. They make a call and they say something is going to happen. So there are other approaches that those kinds of actors, like the good guys, have to take to keep the bad guys as guessing as much as we can.
Yeah. Very correct. And on this notion of this brave people of Iran, I wanted to say that we are still looking for Gandalf and Jewish Tom. And if one day they will see it, it would be great. So they can reach out because we are worried about them. Next.
On that point, every single person from my network in Iran, not a single message is coming through any of them. So
And now we have Mario. Mario? Okay. Paul?
I just wanted to agree with Jeffrey on a lot of the points that he's making. It's exactly what we need to be looking at when the attack does occur. We need to be able to watch what the collateral damage is going to be. This is good. To me, this seems like, I don't know if Jeffrey will agree. I think we're looking at a different type of warfare here where casualties could be high, but trying to prevent those casualties is going to be a challenge, especially with the way things are progressing. And besides, a lot of the intel that are going back and forth, we're seeing this is not your typical type asymmetrical warfare. This is a warfare that's new on the horizon. And I think it's kind of like what we've seen a little bit of what happened in Venezuela to a certain degree. But it will have to see how it folds and how the military leaders decide they want to handle this. That's going to be the tricky part. Now, getting the people prepared for it, that's something that we can do. Because getting that information to the people on the ground there will take out any kind of risk for collateral damage. So that's one thing that we need to figure out how to be able to convey to the people on the ground there and be able to do it in such a way that the regime would not even notice. It's kind of like a mouse and cat game that we would have to do in order to get messages in and out, even though it's been hard. But I think it's possible to be able to do exactly that. It's just a matter of what platform we want to use and how we want to use it correctly.
Like covert operations.
Okay.
That's all I had to say.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. Now, Francisco.
I want to ask a question to Jeffrey. So, what will be the consequences of successful revolution in Iran in regard to the oil supply to China? Because there was already Venezuela that has been taken out. Will this successful revolution push China more towards intervention and invade Taiwan, prepared for a push into conflict?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
there's organizational operational ties between Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, the Chinese Communist Party, and the Mullah regime. And a lot of that organizational operational ties takes different forms, both in hard power, military activity, right? Say when like Putin was looking to sell 2 light water reactors to the Mullahs, and the Chi-Coms are going to sit there and assist them in modifying it to produce fissional grade material, much like how Pakistan did that, and like how the Mullahs gave like Shahed 136s to Putin to sit there and launch at Ukraine. I'm just using that as an example, the hard power collaboration. A lot of that also is like Latin power, economic power. Part and parcel of that is things like energy. Sure, that's true. So can I give you a magic 8 ball that says if what's the probability? So what's the probability of the Chinese Communist Party getting involved or intervening in the current revolution going on in Iran by those brave Iranian protesters, considering the fact that Chi-Coms invested in the Mullah regime, producing a deep water port, if I remember correctly, to help get the heavy crude out of Iran to help feed their energy needs, right? And so, like, you know, if the Chi-Com seeing the Mullah regime is going to fall, especially considering Venezuela was taken away from them, that's one of the reasons why we did it. You know, now they're even more incentivized to do so. I can't say the probability is zero. I can say it's probably low, given some of the issues regarding the Chinese Communist Party's lack of, and understand, give me a little room here. I'm like shooting from the hip here, right? So I'm being honest with I'm operating in less than perfect information. I'm just trying.
The internal problems of China cause an intervention in Taiwan, not Iran.
So, okay, that's the other thing. Like the Chinese Communist Party is going, there's the highest degree of, I can say the highest degree of human society it possesses, the highest degree of probability that the Chinese Communist Party are going to invade Taiwan no matter what. That's why we're doing things like the porcupine strategy, right? To harden up Taiwan. So, you know, the idea that somehow you kind of danced around something. Given the deconcentration of power, thanks to the really screwed up things that were done under previous administrations, specifically Obama and Biden, that exacerbated deconcentration of power in the international system. We are now in a asymmetric multipolar world, coupled with some of the internal kind of pressures in different adversarial countries, like demographic issues in both Russia and China, motivating them to strike Taiwan. If we get involved, you're saying if we get involved in helping the brave Persian protesters take down the regime and we have a finite amount of missiles to sit there and defend things, that'll give the green light to Putin and the Chi-Coms to start acting out in their respective regions. And subsequently, like all of our adversaries are coordinating their efforts, they are coordinating their efforts. I promise you we're in the process of, well, I can't say how far along. Just know that that issue is being very, very much has been looked at and is very much being addressed by Pete Hegseth. No doubt.
Yeah, I know that there are not clear signs of an invasion. You need to evacuate civilians. You need to put medical camps along the coast before the Taiwanese invasion. So there are not clear signs already to that. But yeah, not having oil supply will increase the chance of that happening.